Welcome to Igniting Change, Finding Your Fire, a podcast covering all topics health, healing, and spirituality. I'm your host, Meena Puri. Thank you for joining me. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. This is Meena Puri from Ayurvedic Healing Center. How do you like my new backdrop? So I've been creative. I like lots of space. So where my office was in one corner of my living room, I moved it into my kitchen. And the bonus is the lighting here is awesome. It's all natural light. So I was done with all those, podcast lights, the wires hanging. That's what was driving me nuts. So I cleared that out and I have this beautiful space, another sitting area in my living room, and I can do my podcast here. So let me know what you think of the screen, of the back screen, because forever I've had this wall with two pictures framing my head for the longest time. But I changed it and I hope that it is for the better. So today's podcast, I'm going to talk about inflammation. Inflammation is like the silent culprit that is a common denominator in so many of the common illnesses that we find. So let me explain what inflammation is. Inflammation is a built-in natural response from the body to heal if then there is an injury. Like suppose you break your knee or you sprain your ankle. Inflammation is what will begin to heal it. So that's the acute inflammation. We need that. That's the body's intelligence system kicking in to heal the injury. So many times when we have viruses and bacteria, that's why we get the fever. So that's body's defense mechanism trying to rid the body of the foreign substances, and so that's needed. That's acute inflammation, but that's not the problem. The problem is when the body's inflammatory response is always called to action because of our poor lifestyle choices. And so when that chronic inflammation sets in, that's the mistake of the intellect. Is an intelligent system, but humans, we have free will. So we misuse that mechanism. And now what we have is a chronic inflammation. So when we look at a lot of the diseases, the common denominator in those diseases is inflammation and toxicity. Higher levels of toxicity will set off the inflammatory response because that's how the body is trying to burn off the toxins. And it sets you in a vicious cycle. So it's a body's intelligence gone wrong, because we have set that in motion. So here are some of the common symptoms of inflammation that you may not think it's because of inflammation, but have a listen and this might resonate. So one of the very common symptom is this continuously feeling that this low-grade aches and pains in the body. Your body just hurts. It hurts to touch. It hurts constantly. There's this constant pain going on. It can be debilitating, but many people learn to work with it, but it affects the level of their energy. It creates anxiety. It affects their level of motivation. So the pain is all over the body. It can also be localized. Suppose your knee hurts more than the rest of the body. And it can also be at a specific time of the day. For many people, they feel more achy when they wake up in the morning, and when they start to move, then the body opens up and the circulation increases and they feel a little bit better. So this general sense of just body hurting all the time, that's one of the symptoms of inflammation. Another symptom is, I wrote it down so I don't miss any point, is lethargy. It's just feeling of malaise, just heaviness. anything takes twice as long to do. Your body just feels heavy. It necessarily has nothing to do with, gaining weight, although these two things can be associated, but you just feel heavy. You don't feel lightness in the body. And another symptom is you perspire often. Even I know clients who perspire while eating. Even that exerts so much effort on their part, so they begin to perspire. They walk around a block and they begin to perspire. There's an inflammation is the issue here, and also running out of breath. You can't walk more than 10 minutes and you run out of breath. Some of the physical illness diagnoses are that where inflammation is the underlying cause is colitis, it is migraine headaches, it's hypertension, Alzheimer's, rheumatoid arthritis, and migraine headaches. Did I mention? Yes, migraine headaches. And anxiety and depression is also linked to this underlying low-grade inflammation. So what happens when there's toxicity in the body? The increased level of inflammation to burn that toxicity, if that is set in motion on a chronic long-term basis, the toxins get pushed deeper into the tissues and causing all kinds of illnesses. So these are some of the common symptoms that you may experience. Now, what is it that we can do to reduce the levels of our inflammation? We've created it when we certainly can uncreate it. So number one thing to do, which you may already know, is to reduce the amount of sugar. So nobody sits there and eats a scoop, a spoonful of sugar. Sugar is in the food that we eat, mainly in the processed food that we buy from the shelves. We eat food. Sugar comes in many, many forms in many processed foods. It has many names. Corn syrup is highly used in a lot of the foods as a sugar substitute. Fructose and anything that at the end has that OSC is sugar. It's just different word attached to it. So sugar intake, it increases the level of insulin, which really creates this oxidative stress in the body and sets the inflammatory response in action. So reducing the amount of sugar, and I do want to add also on the sweet taste altogether. So you can have substitute sugars like agave or stevia or coconut sugar, but we really want to keep the sweet taste lower. Because sweet taste itself is an anabolic taste. It creates mass, it creates tissues. So anytime there is more mass, more weight in the body has to work hard to support the extra tissues. And when that needs to happen on a chronic basis, the body works hot. It can create or add to an already, an inflammatory condition. That's why reducing weight, that's one of the reasons reducing weight always helps when you are trying to heal. Second thing is to add bitter greens. Bitter greens are your kale, spinach, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cucumbers, celery, green beans. Doesn't matter. Whatever you see green, make sure you add a green to your meal. I often tell my clients who are not accustomed to eating a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, who are not accustomed to eating greens, because many times, so many people, their vegetables are limited to carrots and peas. Although those are wonderful, you do want to add bitter greens in your diet, you can cut a handful, throw it in your soup, throw it in your stir fry, or just add a saute greens on the side to your meal. Bitter taste is cooling. Bitter taste is also catabolic. It helps in weight loss and it reduces the tissues, and that's the direction we want to go to. And third is we want to reduce foods that cause acidity in the body. So nightshades come to mind. What are the nightshades? Are your tomatoes, garlic, potatoes, eggplant, peppers. All these vegetables that are abundant in summertime and they all taste so good. You can still continue to have them, but just reduce the quantity because it's the acidity that's going to worsen the inflammation in the body. Also, reducing the amount of alcohol and any smoking, whether it is cigarette smoking, cigarettes, or any other herbs that you're smoking, is to reducing that will help with the inflammation. And another thing that you may not think adds to inflammation is our psychology, our anger, our relationship with our anger. Some people, type A people, they are more prone to inflammation because they have a high pitta in their psychology. Pitta is the heat element in the body. So they are more prone to inflammation. These are people who they get angry really, really quickly. They get really intense. Know anybody in your life like that? So it is important to keep your anger and keep the intensity at check. And the mantra for those intense people, if you're listening to my podcast, is to stop and smell the roses. And walking in moonlight can also have a cooling effect on the mind. And swimming in cold water can also feel fantastic if you feel hot all the time, if you have inflammation. So these are some of the things that you can begin to do. So I want you to tune in to these symptoms and connect them to what you are eating. Connect them to your thinking, the intensity of your thoughts. Connect them to how are you constantly feeling. So all of these different factors, they're going to affect the inflammation in your body. And it's something that we can definitely correct, provided we catch it in time. Anytime when any imbalance that's been happening for a very long time, it becomes difficult to reverse. So you do want to pay attention. And I highly recommend to learn the heart-based meditation because it allows you to drop into the heart. Dropping from head to the heart will reduce the intensity, will help you calm down. And all of my patients who have hypertension, meditation, heart-based meditation is something they all learn, and it makes a big difference. So with that, I also want to, that's my pen dropping. I also want to remind you to, if you don't have my books, one is the Wake Up and Heal. The first book was Healing Your Relationship with Food, the Ayurveda Answer. So take a look at these books. It'll give you a little bit more insight on my work and where it can help you. And I also invite you to go ahead and schedule an initial consultation with me if you are suffering with any of these inflammatory conditions. I think almost everyone, there is hardly any client I see who does not have the inflammation. It's because we underestimate the effect of inflammation on our health, on our overall health, but they're not necessarily aware. They're not linking the disorder or the illness to inflammation, and specifically linking the inflammation to what they are doing and eating and how they can actually change that and reverse that. So if you are struggling with any of these inflammatory conditions or the symptoms that I just mentioned, go ahead and schedule an initial consultation with me. It is not free, but whatever you pay, it'll go towards your individual work if you do decide to work with me. So the link will be in the description below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. You can find all episodes of Igniting Change, Finding Your Fire at ayurvedichealingcenter.com. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and share your comments.